I feel we're kind of overdue an update on SAP Enable Now versus WalkMe and where things are going as far as merging the two products together goes. There's been a trickle of information that's been picking up speed recently, so I thought I'd just go over some of the new things that we've learned recently and see where we are. Most of this is going to cover the migration from SAP Enable Now to WalkMe, assuming that that's what you're going to do. There's a lot more to come on the new digital learning product which SAP are working on. I'll cover that in the next video. For now, I just want to look at that transition process. So, first of all, as far as timing goes, if you try to buy SAP Enable Now today, you can buy the product that gets you to be able to create simulations and courseware, but it will not include SAP Companion. Okay? If you want to create courseware, what you end up buying is what they're now calling the SAP Enable Now Enablement Content Creation Edition. So it's basically what was SAP Enable Now, but with SAP Companion carved out of it. That's because if you want in-application help, you need to buy WalkMe. You can't buy SAP Companion anymore. WalkMe is SAP's chosen digital adoption platform, as they like to call it. Now, that doesn't mean that SAP Enable Now or even SAP Companion is dead. It's going to be around for a good many years yet in that format. In fact, what you've licensed at the moment, if you've got a license that covers SAP Enable Now for content creation and for in-application help, you can continue to lose that up until the absolute drop dead date for SAP Enable Now, which is November 30th, 2030. So just over 5 years from now. You can carry on using that product as long as you've got valid licenses all the way up until November 2030. So you don't have to get off SAP Companion now. If you've got a bunch of content built and you want to ride it out until your next major upgrade project, great, carry on using it. However, the caveat with all of that is that you must sign these extension agreements to say you're going to continue to license SAP Enable Now. You must sign that intention before November 30th, 2026. Okay, so don't think that you can just extend it by 12 months into November 2026 and then in November 2026 extend it to 2027, then to 2028 and kind of like play it by ear. No, you need to make that commitment, whether it's a 1-year commitment or a 5-year commitment, by November 30th, 2026. So that's as far as the SAP Companion timing goes. Okay, in fact, that's really true for the entirety of SAP Enable Now as it is at the moment. If you want to carry on using that for creating your courseware and simulations and stuff and not move to the new product when that becomes available, if you want to carry on using Enable Now all the way through to 2030, you can do. Not a problem. All right, now, as far as the SAP Companion content itself goes, assuming that you do want to move to WalkMe and you're ready to do that now or at the end of your current licensing period, whenever that may be, the good news is that SAP will help move your SAP Companion content from SAP Enable Now servers into WalkMe. Okay, it's still going to be SAP Companion content, but SAP are now saying that they've figured out how to get WalkMe to pull the help content from 2 different sources, that being from the WalkMe content and the SAP Companion content, and have both of those renderable on the screen at the same time as in application help. Exactly how that works and how it's going to look, and whether you're still going to have like the Companion question mark at the top and the WalkMe question mark at the bottom, which would be weird, but I don't know exactly how it's going to work, but SAP are saying that they can do that. And it's in their own interests to do that. They've built out a massive amount of SAP Companion pre-built content, help content for S4 and their other systems, and they don't want to have to throw that away or suddenly retool everything in a new product, so they want to be able to get that to work as well. So the good news is that's going to happen. Now, as far as pricing goes of WalkMe versus SAP Companion, that's where it gets a little bit tricky, because SAP Companion is basically bundled into your SAP Enable Now license. And if you just create simulations and courseware, great. And it's going to cost you X dollars per user per year. If you want to put in application help on your S4 system, great, it's not going to cost you any more. Want to put it on SuccessFactors as well? Also not going to cost you any more. You can put it on any of SAP's systems that support SAP Companion for the same single price. WalkMe is priced differently. Their current pricing model for their in-application help component is that you basically pay per number of users per system. So if you have 10,000 users on S4, you buy 10,000 S4 licenses. If you've then got another 5,000 that are on Ariba, you're going to have to buy another 5,000 licenses for Ariba. Even if those 5,000 are within that 10,000 that are already using S4 and you've only got 10,000 employees, you're still paying per system. Now, you can, in fact, what they call that version, now you can choose to buy kind of like an enterprise edition, which you can put on absolutely every product that you like for a single price. And the way they're pricing these is that if you buy it per application, it's officially called WalkMe Premium for whatever product. If you buy a kind of like a license that's going to cover all of your applications, that's called WalkMe DAP, Digital Adoption Platform. Now, where's the break point between, well, I just want it on, 3 or 4 systems? Is it worth me getting the full enterprise license at that stage? Or should I still buy individual ones per product? It's kind of difficult to say because different products are priced differently. It's not the same dollar per user for S4 as it is for Ariba, as it is for Salesforce versus anything else. They're priced differently depending on how competitive that model is or that application is. However, doing some rudimentary math, I'd suggest that somewhere between 10 and 20 applications, again, depending on which applications they are, it's going to be worth going up to the full DAP version of this and being able to put it on everything that you want. That's the current licensing costs. I do expect that to change as things move more towards SAP's pricing models as opposed to WalkMe's current pricing models. But that's where we are at the moment. Okay, so that's as far as the in-application help goes. No immediate rush to get off it. My recommendation to my clients is if you are just about to start using in-application help or creating in-application help, you've got a big project moving to S4 starting now or starting early next year, I would say, sure, go license WalkMe and get started on WalkMe because you're going to end up on that anyway. If you're not planning that upgrade for another 3 years, wait for another 3 years. There's no hard and fast need to move now. Like I say, you can carry on using SAP Enable Now as is, including Companion, all the way through to 2030. So don't panic. All right, that's the in-application help. Now let's look at the exciting part in all of this, which is the new digital learning platform that SAP are building for us at the moment. And as I've said in my previous videos, they're building that because they'd really pushed SAP Enable Now as far as the technology would allow. That technology basically being HTML and JavaScript. Now, the new product's going to be based on different technologies. It's going to be more modern. It's going to be sleeker. It's going to be much nicer. And it's going to do stuff that WalkMe currently can't do. Because WalkMe at the moment is only in application help. SAP Enable Now let you create courseware. So, courses, books and book pages were the main mechanisms for that. And importantly, simulations. A lot of people use simulations. So this new digital learning platform is going to do that bit. Remember I said they carved Companion out of Enable Now? This new product is going to replace what was left once they'd carved Companion out. So I've seen a demo of that. It's looking fairly sleek. It's kind of nice. It doesn't have all the full feature depth of SAP Enable Now books and book pages, but it will come later. But that's in a separate video that I'll do later this week. For now, I just want to look at how does the existing SAP Enable Now content play into this new product. Okay, because it is a brand new product. It's going to work completely differently. So the SAP had previously said that this would be piloted maybe towards November, December this year, 2025, and general availability would be sometime in first quarter 2026. They've now actually brought that forward, which is kind of interesting. And from the demos that I've seen, that certainly makes sense. Currently, general availability is now slated for December 15th, 2025. That's when the product version 1 is due to go live. Now again, that's probably not going to have full feature parity, but it is going to be available then. So if you've got licenses for SAP Enable Now and you're thinking about moving to this new product and your licenses are up for renewal first quarter next year, maybe second quarter next year, I would wait until we see this new product and see if it's going to work for you. Okay? Now, as far as if you've got a big bunch of training content that you've developed in SAP Enable Now, what can you do with that? Are you going to have to throw it all away and rebuild it all in the new digital learning platform? The good short answer is no, you do not have to do that. SAP had previously said that they would find a way to make simulations and book pages renderable in the new product. So you could basically get that new product to display SAP Enable Now content. Now, without spoiling my next video too much, yes, the new product, the way you build courses out, it's not slide based or book page based like you're used to. It's really if you've used SAP Learning or you've done some stuff with Articulate 360, maybe. No, actually not Articulate 360. If you've done stuff on SAP Learning or you've been through any of WalkMe's existing training on their learning platform, basically what you've got is you've got like a continuous page of information, and that has blocks of information slotted onto it. Whether that block of information is text or it's an image or it's an embedded video or a quiz or whatever else it is, they're all basically widgets of information. Now, the way the new product's going to work is that one of those widgets can be for SAP Enable Now content, whether that's for a simulation or for a book page. I've seen that working, not for a book yet, so I don't know if that was just not in the demos that I saw, or I'd imagine it would work the same because it's basically displaying it in an iframe. So I would expect it to work for entire books as well. So if you've got courses built out that way, you can drop those into a widget in the new product. So yes, it can all be renderable, which is great because again, we don't need to rebuild all of that content. However, SAP have now gone even further with that and said that you will also be able to edit what I'll call heritage SAP Enable Now courseware within WalkMe. It's slightly different in how it's done, but they have said that it will be editable. And they're going to do that basically by providing a web editor. So how that integrates with WalkMe's editors, or actually not even WalkMe, with the new digital platforms editors and the demos that I've seen of that, I don't know exactly how that's going to work, whether it's kind of going to shoot you off to a separate browser tab to edit it and then come back, or you have to edit it separately via the editor panel. I don't know yet, but you will absolutely be able to edit that content. So if you've got a simulation and you realize that you need to update wording in a particular bubble in a step, yes, you can absolutely go and do that. You don't suddenly have to recreate that entire simulation in the new in the new digital adoption platform. Okay, you're not having to recreate content. But, so that's fantastic. But it's important to note that there's no conversion. Again, the technology is different, and the technology that is used to create and edit SAP Enable Now content is different to how WalkMe works. So it's not really integrated like that, and it's not when you move stuff when you ask SAP to move your content from the Enable Now servers to the WalkMe servers, there is no conversion. It's not going to turn an SAP Enable Now simulation into a new digital learning platform simulation. And again, they're different. Okay, there's no conversion there. So although you can effectively bring in your Enable Now content and you can edit it if you need to, and you can display it by incorporating it in new courses. It's always going to be Heritage Enable Now content. All right. And there are going to be some limitations to that. All right. The integration's not 100% perfect, and there are some things that you can only do with content that has been built directly in the new digital learning platform. One example of that is there are AI features being built into that, where you can basically just drag a bunch of learning objects into the AI thing and say, okay, go and create me a course based around this content. And you can drop simulations in there, you can drop PDFs, PowerPoints, I think, Word documents, whatever else into there. Notice I said simulations there. You can drop simulations that have been created in the new digital learning platform into AI, and it will work with them. Can you drop SAP Enable Now heritage simulations into there? No, it's not set up to work like that. So that's just one example of where, yes, you can bring your content in, but it's not going to have all of the features and functions available as if you had created that in the new product. Okay? So again, what all of this does suggest to us is that there's not necessarily any immediate rush, and there's certainly no need to panic and say, oh, we've now got to migrate all of our Enable Now content and rebuild it in the new product. That's not the case. I would suggest, again, if you've got a major project where you know you're going to have to re-record all your simulations anyway because you're moving from ECC 6 to S4, and all the screens are changing and your processes may be changing. Well, if you've got to redo them, then yes, as a part of a project, sure. Now go and build them, in native new digital learning platform. Again, whatever that's called. I keep referring to it as the new digital learning platform. Is it going to be called WalkMe Digital Learning? Maybe, maybe not. Is it going to be called something else? Is it going to be called Enable Now Learning? I don't know. We'll see. SAP have used learning for a bunch of other things like SAP Learning, Learning Hub, etc., etc. So I think they're trying to find a name that's not going to conflict with any of their other offerings. But anyway, for now, I'm still calling it the new digital learning platform. Anyway, no immediate need to jump on that. You've got a while. Okay, now, one more thing on that. As well as providing us with editors for books and book pages and for simulations, which is fantastic. Not really a huge surprise because we already had those editors via Manager. We have the web editor. There was a book page one for a few years. Then it kind of disappeared. I guess it's coming back. And the simulation editor's always been there. So they're just reusing those. But the fact that they are is great. But SAP have also said that they'll probably be giving us a full web-based version of Producer. Okay, so all of the things that you can do in Producer, you'd also be able to do for your heritage SAP Enable Now content in the new digital learning platform. So that's nice. I know that SAP were working on basically putting all of the Producer functionality into Manager so it could all be over the browser and not have to have that Producer installed on your PC, which always caused problems with Macs, with Citrix, with remote desktops and stuff like that. It was always a bit kludgy. So they always wanted to move to a purely browser-based platform. So the fact that they're giving us this browser version of Producer is great. The irony of all of this, of course, is that WalkMe, the WalkMe digital adoption platform, the in-application help, the editor for that does absolutely require you to install a program on your PC. So we'll see how long that lasts before SAP get that migrated to pure cloud as well, if they can. Anyway, so that's it. That's what's coming with the new digital learning platform. As far as licensing for that goes, licensing should be easier because it doesn't really matter what product you are building training for. It's the same thing. So there's none of this pricing per users per system or per application. That would be like saying in Snagit, if you wanted to capture screenshots of S4 versus screenshots of Salesforce, you'd have to buy 2 different versions of Snagit. Obviously, that doesn't make sense. And obviously, it doesn't make sense here. So it's going to be priced per number of users. I would imagine that it would follow the SAP Enable Now cloud pricing model, where it's per number of users, period. And that's what you pay for, whether they are developers, builders, authors, whatever you want to call them, or they are just passive consumers, learners, would be priced the same. That's my expectation. The SAP Enable Now on-premise edition priced developers and consumers separately, but I don't think that they're going to do that. Oh, also, there is no on-premise version of the new digital adoption platform. It's pure cloud. There'll be ways to work that behind a firewall, private cloud, whatever else, but there's going to be no on-premise version. So there you go with that. All right, now as far as licensing of that goes, now SAP have recognized that very few companies are going to be in the position to switch over from SAP Enable Now Learning Content Creation Edition to the new digital learning platform overnight or over a weekend. There's going to have to be some overlap there where you've got both products. And they've said that, yes, they can allow an overlap of between 5 and 11 months. And during that period, you will get to basically have SAP Enable Now at a reduced rate, assuming you've already signed contracts to say, yes, we're going to take WalkMe. They will give you what they're calling the test and go live licensing option, which basically gives you this 5 to 11 months, depending on who you talk to, when you've still got SAP Enable Now active on SAP Enable Now servers and you're moving stuff over to WalkMe, whether you are just migrating it over or you're recreating stuff or whatever else. And the good news is that they're saying that this test and go live version of this will be, quote, very competitively priced. So it's obviously going to be reduced significantly versus your existing licensing, because you don't want to have to pay what you're paying now for Enable Now and basically pay at least the same amount all over again just for WalkMe and have both of those products for a period. So the test and go live licensing option will give you that ability to keep a foot in Enable Now while you're working, moving things over, or while your project's getting up to speed or whatever else you're doing. Okay, so that's as far as the new product goes. Again, I've got a new video that I'll cover more of the what features are going to be available in that, at least as far as content creation goes, later this week probably. Now, last thing I'll mention on all of this, and the intersection of learning content and help content. If you're familiar with SAP Enable Now, you record simulations. As part of that recording process, it captures the context, which includes the application, version, language, and then the app name or screen that you're on effectively. It captures that context in the simulation automatically, and then as long as you point your SAP companion at your learning workspace, it's going to automatically incorporate or list all of those simulations on the relevant page on the Learning tab of SAP Companion. And this has always been a very quick and dirty way of providing some degree of in-application help, just by virtue of recording simulations. They automatically appear in the in-application help. Now, again, WalkMe works differently. Okay, it doesn't use that same context capture. It basically uses display conditions which have to be set individually per content object. Just like if for a simulation you had or desktop assistant, or what was desktop assistant, SAP Companion for desktop, you can capture context via a button. You kind of have to do a similar thing with WalkMe. So this means that all of your simulations or your heritage simulations aren't magically automatically going to appear in WalkMe. You're going to need to create those display conditions so it does appear in the right places. Now, SAP have said that they may have some bulk update utility which will help do that, but I've not seen it, and at the moment it seems to be kind of vaporware. They're talking about it maybe happening, but there's no guarantees. So even if you've got all of your heritage learning content brought into WalkMe, it's not automatically going to appear in the in-application help just like it did Enable Now. You're going to have some work to do, whether it is via this bulk update utility or via going in and individually capturing those display conditions per simulation, per book page, whatever else you have. So maybe that's why we need the 11 months of the test and go live, so that we've got time to do all of those things. Anyway, that's all I had on migrating from one product to another. As more news comes in, I'll keep you updated, but the bottom line at the moment is don't panic. Nothing is disappearing now. You can absolutely keep using SAP Enable Now right through to November 30th, 2030 if you want to. And there will be ways to migrate from SAP Enable Now, SAP Companion, and the digital learning content into WalkMe DAP or the new digital learning platform. Not a conversion, but a migration, a way to keep that content and move it over. So anything that you do now or anything that you have done so far, it's not wasted, it's not regretted spend. You can still continue to use it. Bottom line, don't panic. Okay, hope you found that informative. Thank you.